He's one of the UK's best-known comedians who beat an unlikely foot problem to become a long-distance runner.
He says there's nothing better than a pink-faced chat with a complete stranger at the end of a parkrun.
He's not spoken to me then.
It's time to meet Ross Noble ahead of him heading out on a gigantic new tour.
This is TRC Meets, where we meet incredible runners with amazing stories. Ross Noble, you had gout on the Great North Run, but you've never drank a sip of alcohol in your entire life. How do you get gout if you don't drink?
You know what? That is the sympathetic question that I get asked all of the time. Yeah, I know. I've never drunk. And gout is sort of, you know what? It's not one of them cool. It's not a cool thing to have, is it? It's not like, you can't sort of like, I can't go around the place wearing some sort of like ribbon that's made of meat. And then just, you know what I mean, just start going, hey, gout, it's Gout Awareness Month, guys, because people just go,
Gout Awareness
Gout Awareness.
I do think that everyone on in this podcast set right now, given the fact on the amount we talk about Gavi and wine and Rick's consumption of it, the fact that you're the one who had gout, just doesn't seem fair.
There it is.
I've never had gout.
No, it's such a weird thing, isn't it? It's like people think that gout is literally you just drink port all the time and just eat cheese.
But didn't you eat chicken wings for breakfast and dinner for a week?
Yeah, well, it was that.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I have the diet of I have had in the past, basically eating like an 8-year-old whose parents have gone away and you just go, I'll eat anything I want. So yeah, I ate chicken wings. I was doing a show in Dublin for a week. And in Dublin, they've got these like chicken wing restaurants and they're all competing to see who's the best chicken wing emporium. And I thought, all right, let's eat at all of them. And then gout turned up. I mean,
how long did it last for?
Well, here's the thing about, I can't believe I'm now
We're straight in. We're not even talking about running at all. We're just going to talk about gout for 20 minutes.
But you know what's hilarious about this, right, is the fact that like this podcast is like talking to like inspirational people about their running. And I'm with me gout. I'm not even vaguely inspirational. And I currently have a broken foot and can't run. So I feel like a bit of
But we were talking just before we started recording. You're actually like a regular listener to the podcast.
I am,
right?
yes. Yeah.
So you were rolling out all of the in-jokes, some that I'd even forgotten about.
All of the in-jokes, yeah. I'm just a bit sad that Princess Snarky isn't here.
So she's in a spa.
Especially because you've got significantly better hair than Sarah.
Well, I thought she looked at the list and she went, Harry Judd, yes, no.
No, she went, Harry Judd.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
She simpered over Harry Judd and just declined to interview you. So
Harry Judd has not got gout. I can guarantee that. So basically, like in defence of the gout community, so gout is basically it's uric acid in the blood. It builds up, and that can be
what
uric.
You don't do science.
Uric acid.
You don't do science.
The old UA, as I call it, it builds up, and that with me. And it was weirdly, the running was making it worse. I didn't realise this, but I like to think there's people sitting at home with big red feet, just going, "Oh, that's what's wrong with me." I thought I'd broken my foot. It's like a really inflamed sort of arthritis, like
in the joint.
In the joint, yeah, and like crystals build up, and it's like somebody smashed you with a hammer and then like stuck red hot needles into your foot. You can't even put your foot down. Can't even even just like lying in bed, if the sheets touch it, it's like it's agonizing pain. And what was happening was I was getting dehydrated. I would run, and then the dehydration would cause the gout, and then I couldn't walk for a week, and then I'd recover, then I'd run again, and then it would, and I was in this constant spiral of just of gouty agony.
Because this is a slightly tedious link, and I will link it to a Reddit thread. But apparently,
tedious link.
Yeah.
It's a boring link. Not a tenuous link.
No, tedious. It's boring.
Okay.
It's also tenuous. But apparently, a lot of runners do get gout.
Oh yeah, well that's because I'm a very good runner. That's interesting actually, because like,
told you it was tedious.
You know what? I like, because I genuinely thought when I went to the doctor with it, and I said, look, I don't know what's happened here, but I've got some sort of stress fracture. I've broken. That's how painful it is. Like I've broken loads of bones, and it's nothing compared to the gout. And I went to the doctor, and she just laughed at me, and she just went, like, this is gout. So come on, Gout Awareness Month.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening and they come back from a run or whatever, and then all of a sudden have got like agonizing pain in your feet, it's probably gout.
Is that where it all began though?
Were you running already, and then
Yes.
It was like there was concurrent, or did you then start running more in order to have a healthier lifestyle? I guess what's the...
Well, so when I was a kid, so I hated running, like properly. I think what it is, right? You know, I think it's two camps, isn't it? It's like at school, running was always that sort of, it was that punishment, you know, especially like, you know, I was growing up in the Northeast and it's, you know, the pissing rain and all that. And it's like, get out there and run around the field.
Yeah, you'd turn up and you'd have forgotten like a sock for your rugby lesson or whatever, and they're like, okay, run a lap, and then you've not tied your boots up properly, run a lap. Yeah,
exactly. And to me, and also it was that thing. It was either that, or it was all this competitive thing of like, who can run the fastest, and so I just associated running with, there was no joy in it at all, you know. And then I started running. Like I used to race dirt bikes and that, and I started running because running was always that thing of like, oh well, that'll keep you in shape for doing other things.
Yeah.
And so again that, and then also that thing of like, oh, if you run, you'll be healthy. It was the sort of the upside of running was always like, it wasn't the running itself, it was what it did. You know, it's like, do that and you won't die. Yeah. You know. And then there was this when I discovered that. Because trail running is the thing that I like the most, and when I discovered that it was about adventure and exploring and sort of having adventures rather than
the pain,
just being like, oh, I'm doing this so that my kids don't, you know, can have me for an extra 2 years in 50 years time. You know what I mean? It's like, what? Yeah. And once I discovered that, everything just switched, and I started to run because I was like, where can this take me? Where can I go? You know, like, especially like when I'm on tour, and it's that thing of like, oh, you know, towns that you've been in for years, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, hang on a second, there's a hill over there. There's a big
trail over
lookout,
there. And then don't people see you at the show and go, I'm sure I saw someone who looked like you running, but obviously it wasn't Ross Noble.
Yeah.
Speaking of spotting Ross Noble,
weren't
you diving deep into some Reddit community stuff?
Oh yeah, so a bit sad. There is a whole world of Reddit threads about where people have seen you on a park run, but some of them don't link up. So one had like, oh, I saw Ross Noble doing a park run in Melbourne, but then, you know, a day later, someone said, oh, I saw him in Sunderland doing a park run today. It's like, well, he wasn't at both of them.
Well, you never know with the time difference. You could probably
get the day back as you fly back.
Yeah, you get the day back. So that might actually be
possible.
That might be possible.
But you must be a big parkrun fan now, Ross.
I am now, yeah. Well, it's bizarre because it was only probably a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Where I was in Adelaide for the month doing some shows. And there's a mate of mine who lives in Adelaide who's like this sort of crazy ultra runner. Like I'll text him and I'll go, oh, what are you doing at the moment? And I text him one day and he was like, oh, I'm running a half marathon every day for a month. And he's not doing it for charity. He's not told anyone about it. He's just doing it.
I don't understand those people.
And he, and so we went and did this. Well, it was quite funny actually. So we turned up to this race, right? And it was, we did one, it was like sort of half marathon through the hills. And then he says, so we did that one Saturday or Sunday. And then he said, oh, there's another one in 2 weeks' time. You know, I'm going to do it. I was like, yeah, I'll turn up. And I thought it was going to be like a sort of, you know, like the first one was more of a, you know, people were doing it for charity and all that sort of stuff. And I turned up to this one and it turned out it was one of the heats of the South Australian Trail Running Championships. And I turn up and it's like, there's no sausage sizzle and like, you know, people in costumes and stuff. And everyone's got like, you know, they got the long beards and the poles and everything. I'm like, oh God, here we go. I mean, I did it, but you know. But anyway, so the point is that he said, oh, I'm going to do this on the Saturday in between, so I'm going to do this parkrun. Never heard of parkrun, because one of those things.
When was this?
This was like a year and a half, 2 years ago.
And you'd never heard of parkrun?
Never heard of it, because it's one of those things where like, I'd run and I didn't run with other people,
right?
And I had no sense of. I would literally, you know, I'd be in a hotel room and I just go like, I'm on me. I'll run off into the. I didn't realize other people were doing.
So then you got your barcode, and then did you smash out about 30 in the first 12 months?
I did. What did I do? I did 7. No, I did 50. I did it every week.
50?
I did it. I didn't miss a week. And the only weeks that I missed was when I was doing like trail runs, like, you know, half marathons and stuff. And then so at the moment, I've done, I can't remember how many I've done now, but I've done 50 different locations because I'm always in a different place every week.
Oh, I see.
So I've done like 75 or 80, something like that.
Oh,
but 50 of them.
So when all these blokes who said they saw you in Kent a few weeks ago, that might have actually been
Oh no,
you.
that's true. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
So I'll like wherever I'm gigging, then the next day I'll go and do the parkrun. So I never know what the course is. I never know what it's like. I'm not at the front, so it don't matter, does it?
So do you go to the briefings? You know, the first time briefing every week.
Yeah.
You know those briefings. You could do the briefing then.
I have done the briefing.
Oh right.
At my local.
Cool. You've done the briefing.
One. I've done and that's weird when people turn up there. And it's like first time was welcome, and that's like I got the same people there.
Do they let you go off script? Can you? Because you're obviously famous for like picking just a word or a random topic and going off on a sort of rambling tangent.
The great thing about doing a first timers briefing is that there's the clock's ticking before the main briefing, so you can't. Like everyone be off running, and I'll still be there,
still doing a stand-up set on the side.
But that is quite funny. Like when people just sort of, because I usually wear a hat, and so it's one of those things where I'll start doing the briefing. Sometimes you see people going, "Is that him?" Yeah. The worst one though, it's happened a couple of times, and this is awful. I hate this. So sometimes I turn up at a random parkrun that I've never done before, and I sort of, and like me and my tour manager go, you know, so it's sort of like you hang at the back. And this is just awful. It's happened 2 or 3 times. So I'll be there like that. And then somebody beforehand, they'll go, "Oh, didn't know you were into parkrun, blah, blah," having a chat.
Marker on your back.
And then, well, not just that.
So they tell the event director.
In the briefing, and we've got a guest with us. And you go, "Oh, for God's sake," like that. And then you're running the whole thing with like, blokes just turning up, just going, "Here's a joke for you, man."
Well, I've had different reasons, but similar. Like I will rock up on the line fairly late, and then someone might spot me. Actually, someone in the park the other day shouted at me because we're recording this just after the parkrun record was broken again.
Oh yeah, of course.
Totally out of nowhere. We're actually filming in the park, and someone just ran past and went, "Third fastest now, aren't we, Andy?" I was like, brilliant.
But the difference that you've got though is the fact that if you turn up to a parkrun and they say, "And we've got a special guest with us here," you can go, "See ya," and then just go.
But everyone goes off like a lunatic at the start to try and like be ahead of me. So it sort of goes.
Okay.
Sometimes that, and I'm thinking, and sometimes I think I'll get them back in a few kilometers, and then they're so fast that they disappear off into the distance and they never come back again.
Well, but unlike you two, I don't get noticed, but some people do occasionally say to me, "I'm surprised you're up before 9." You know,
that's the big thing. Well done, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
The best one for people like taking off. So I did. So I was flying from Australia back here, and we were at the airport, and it was Saturday morning. We landed at like 5, 6 in the morning. And the flight wasn't until later that day, and I went, "Hang on a second, Singapore parkrun, right?" And I didn't have my gear, so I had the trainers that I was basically wearing on the plane. I just went, "Stuff, I'll do it in them." So I went down to the Singapore parkrun, and then at the very start, all the tourists, everyone's like, you know, jostling to get to the start. All the locals are just stood at the back, just kind of milling around. You know, it's a bit. There's not the, you know, none of this trying to get a good position. And he went, "Go," and everyone that was a tourist just, and I'll include myself in this, took off at what was, you know, our full out regular pace. You know, obviously everyone's too fast anyway. But of course, Singapore, isn't it? It's the most humid place on earth. So everyone's running faster than their pace should be anyway. And they get about probably 50 meters in. I'm like, everything starts to go a bit wobbly. And I look around and everyone else is doing the same thing. And there's all these like wobbly people, just like legs have gone, all trying not to faint. And then all the locals just went quite slowly, just straight through. Listen.
That's what happens to me every week, to be fair.
So you've run in lots of different places. You live in Australia. We actually were just talking before this that when I was training professionally, I used to train at a place called Falls Creek in the mountains in
Yes,
Australia.
yeah.
And you said to me immediately, I ran my fastest ever 5K there.
Fastest ever, at the time, it was the fastest ever 5K because it was all downhill.
Because it's up in the mountains. I've been training at altitude. So if you've done any running up there and in Australia in general, what's the most kind of wild animal experience you've had on a run? Is something I was thinking about.
Oh, animals. Well, there's quite a few actually. Well, funny enough, at my local park run, as part of the briefing, at certain times in the year, they do say make sure you look out for snakes.
Yeah, we used to clear snakes off the trail before doing like reps and intervals out Falls Creek.
What do you mean you cleared them off the trail?
You'd have to get a stick and like pick them up and throw them off the hill.
Yeah, you know, like in Crocodile Dundee, where there's that big ox thing, and you have to you have to do that.
You're not selling this.
What do
you mean? How do you know if it's not a real bad snake?
They're all bad snakes.
They're all bad snakes. Yeah.
You just think, oh, excuse me, get out of the way. I'm not going anywhere near that with a stick.
We're not snake charmers. We used to have
you have to carry a flute with you before you have to run with a friend. They're all up on there like that on the back.
We'd have a very specific. There's a specific few trails that people run on in Falls Creek where a lot of the athletes go up to during the Australian summer when because it's normally a ski resort and it's all winter, so that's why I was there. And there's very specific sections that you always do the same workout on. There's like there's like stone kind of stacks of stones that mark out exactly a kilometre, and people do their 1K reps along there. And so you sort of, and there are bits that aren't that easy to run on. So these are the nice smooth trails. Yeah. And so if you'd get there at 9:30 in the morning, and then if there was a snake on the trail, you obviously just can't have 10 or 15 of you that are training in a group just run over a poisonous snake. So I actually have to say it wasn't me, but one of the assistant coaches or coaches that we were with would often like ride along on his bike, and then this guy was just like Crocodile Dundee, right? And he would just get some sticks out of the undergrowth and then like pick the snake up,
shoo it away.
And you're on the edge of like Falls Creek. The kind of trails are like aqueduct trails cut into the side of the mountain, so it's quite a steep drop off to the side. So you just kind of throw the snake into the undergrowth.
But if you're running in the bottom of the valley, early in the morning, snakes all flying down. You bastards!
Oh my God, I thought running Ali Pally after the darts had been on the next morning was a tough park run. But this is like, you know, they're sick everywhere.
Yeah,
literally, the Ali Pally park run while the darts are on, it is like snakes. There is just puke all over the course. They do a warning. Some weeks they do a warning in late December, early January. You go, just to let everyone know, there's sick on Tyrant's Corner.
Brilliant.
You know, avoid that one. I don't know what I'd rather have, the snake or the sick.
Discarded Viking hats and stuff. It's well, because the snakes come out. It's not their fault. They're doing what snakes do, aren't they? The trails heat up, so they lie and sort of bask in the sunshine. But where I run in the hills near me, I carry, like, you have to for all the trail running events. But when I got my pack on, one of the things that I carry is a snake bite kit. So if you get bitten by a snake, because what you don't want to wash the venom off. You wrap it tightly round there, so then when you get to the hospital, then
they can test the venom.
It sounds like I'm some sort of hardest geezer type. Yeah, it's just day to day over there.
Steve Irwin.
And then I
didn't know we had Bear Grylls on the pod today.
You take and I do drink my own urine. It's weird because I've got.
What does it taste like?
Well, I put salt tablets in it, so salty other. I've got Coca-Cola in my pack, but I just do it anyway.
What is happening?
I'm sorry. It's but yeah, you keep the bandage, so when you get to the hospital,
they can test the venom.
I mean, it's not a while now. I was attacked by a dog a couple of weeks ago. I was running down a hill and there's a woman there and she had a dog. And I thought, I'll be friend. I went, morning, like that. The dog just took a chunk.
What? Why did you move to Australia?
I know, it's mad, isn't it? But so so snakes, you get that. One of the trails near me, massive kangaroos. So these, like, kangaroos are bigger than you think. So like a kangaroo, some of them will be like 7 foot tall, and they've got that big, a sort of big muscular frame on them.
Don't mess with them.
And they just, and sometimes I'll run down a trail and one will just be standing there.
Stacked.
And they don't, It's not like other animals that jump out the way like, oh, there's a human. They'll just stand there like, come on then. What you got? So yeah, sometimes, and you can't run off into the bush to get around them because that's where the snakes live. So,
oh my God.
And when I was
selling it to you, Rick?
I do like, the Mornington Peninsula area, beautiful vineyards.
Oh,
absolutely
stunning.
Bringing it back into your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Snakes and kangaroos, no thanks.
Yeah.
Grape flies, though, is it not? Is that what's the one that affects the grapes? They had a few bad years because of that. You might
stuff.
get. You might get grape.
But it sounds beautiful.
It's amazing.
It does sound beautiful.
I love it. And one of the great things, and I am aware of just how lucky I am, like the fact that because I tour all around Australia,
yeah,
I get to run. Like, there's some weeks where, like, when I play like Alice Springs, for example, I can go and run in the desert.
Do you take your snake kit with you there?
Yeah.
Really bad ones there.
Yeah. Different snakes.
Yeah.
So,
that sounds hot.
Yeah, but I don't mind that. I think it's one of those things where, you'll like this. There's a thing on your watch, right? Have you seen the heat acclimatization thing?
I've probably skipped through it and thought it did something else. Yeah.
There's you can acclimatize to the heat. I find it harder doing it the other way around. I find it, because I run in the heat all the time. Yeah. I find it harder coming back here in the winter and then just trying to get up to speed.
When we were out in Paris earlier this year, it was during basically a heat wave. It was super hot out
there.
And my heat acclimation score was very low.
Hang on, but isn't it easier for you, Ross, when you come back here just to run because it's so cool and your body's used to working at a higher temperature?
If it's like a day like today where it's cool but not cold. When it's cold, I find that really. When I was a kid, I was used to it. But yeah, it's just going from summer to winter here is But the other thing is as well is that like it depends on. It sort of depends on like people say like, running in the heat is really hard, but it depends like how you're running. Like if you're running for hours and hours and hours. And you're doing like a really long run, and you're keeping your heart rate really low. That's very different.
I see.
You know what I mean? It's very different if you're going to try and you're going to bang out like a fast 10K in the heat, or like if you were competing, then. But it's one of those things where if it's a 35-degree day, you wear a massive hat and you just sort of. You're sensible about it.
Take your time.
So,
So it sounds like running for you is all about the adventure. But you are wearing a boot right now. So you've got one running shoe on and one scary looking boot. What happened?
Well, I was out on the trail. That's all snake bite. That
just
all snake. It was gnawed by a wombat.
So far on this trail, there are snakes. You take a snake bite kit. There are kangaroos that look like they're going to punch your brains out, and you break your foot.
Yeah.
Oh, and you said wombats. Have you seen wombats in Australia?
Yeah.
Do they have square poo?
They do have square poo. Yeah. They're amazing wombats. Yeah.
Sometimes your brain.
They have square.
I mean. You went to Cambridge. What did they teach you?
Is that wombats have square?
They're chunky wombats. So you don't want to. If you hit a wombat in a car, you write your car off.
Oh really?
Yeah. People think they're like badgers, but they're not. They're like great. They're like sort of 4 huskies sellotape together. proper.
So it's like moose in Canada.
Yes. Exactly.
My wife's Canadian.
Oh, wow, no, I thought wombat. Oh wow.
And like they're so a moose. You hit your car, the moose doesn't move.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's not really any. I mean, Britain's just so mild. We don't really have. I mean, I know we've got a lot of wild boar going around East Anglia.
Yeah,
where's this conversation going?
Yeah, sorry, we're talking about how you got.
Oh yes, yeah. So basically, I was. So one of the things that I've been trying to get better at is running downhill as fast as possible.
That sounds dangerous in itself.
No, it is. It's a stupid thing to do. But weirdly, it's sort of like on the trails and that. That thing of like if you sort of try and hold yourself back, it knackers your hips and
you've got to let it go a little bit, haven't you? But that's actually a really hard skill to train, to just let yourself go down a hill.
Exactly. Even on like if you're going down a tarmac hill or whatever, that feeling of falling. And I've been. you know, sort of picking your legs up. And I've been really working on trying to get, and especially when it's like loose rocks and stuff. And also you can make up loads of time on those trail roads. And I was doing that, and I ran out of talent. And I was coming down the loose rocks and my foot rolled, and I broke a bone in the thing, so I'm in the side of my foot. So yeah, it's not. I'm not living the dream at the moment.
No,
so.
I feel your pain. I'm back from an injury recently, and it's obviously Rick's been through the stuff that he hardly ever talks about on the podcast.
Yeah,
that's true.
I won't mention it this
No, so yeah, we're wishing you a speedy recovery on that one.
Yeah. You know, look, weirdly, it's more. It's looking at my watch and just seeing the graph just going.
All of the predicted time hours and the VO2 max and all that stuff.
Predicted time, yeah. So, but it's sort of, you know what? It's a learning experience.
Yeah.
You know, it'll make me sort of ease off a bit, but yeah.
How do you work around running around your touring? Because you've got, I think, a 48-day Australian tour in 2025. You're about to announce a UK tour next year as well. How do you mix it all in?
Well, this is like, there's a very sort of exclusive running club of comedians and tour managers who, to join, it's not official, but we all work till at least midnight and then run early the next morning. And that's the thing, like for me, well, Parkrun, for example, like the fact it starts at 9 o'clock here, starts at 8 o'clock in Australia, and then in the north of Australia, it starts at 7 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So it's one of those things where, if I do a gig on a Friday night and I get to bed at like 2, and then I'm going to Parkrun at 7. So I think there should be like a little factor that's put like worked late. There should be like a
asterisk next to your performance.
WL. So yeah, but I'm in that, like I say, I'm in that great position where, you know, there's the travel, but in the daytime, you know, it's one of those things where you can just sit in the hotel every day, just waiting for the gig, and that's quite easy to fall into. But yeah, I get to run in all these different places. So like, you know, on the last tour, I was like, I was in the Peak District and the Lake District, and then I was in a hotel right next to Beachy Head, and and even in Birmingham, like there's like Birmingham, there's like all along the canals and everything. It's just like places that you would never find.
I used to run those. We used to work at the BBC mailbox, so we used to run all the canals at lunchtime.
Exactly, just jump from
Birmingham.
In Birmingham,
yeah, I think that's where Sarah first started running as well.
Right. Okay.
So we did running home for Christmas. We did the canals through Birmingham.
Yeah.
Didn't we? Yeah.
Yes, we're on the way up to the Wirral.
Yeah.
And so you know, so from that point of view, it's more just the, you know, fitting it in around the traveling. But there's so many, you know, like even towns that you sort of think, this town probably isn't the most picturesque place. Once you start, you know, you have a look on the, you know, old trails, or you have, you know, Strava or whatever, and you say, oh, there's a thing there. And sometimes you end up running around in industrial estate.
Have you ever run on the Wirral, Ross? No? There's one for you.
Don't think so. No, you know what? In fact, the last time I was in that neck of the woods, I looked around at the Scousey Parkrun.
Scousey Parkrun.
Not many parkruns up there, to be fair.
Yeah, well, I ended up driving across, was it Lyme Park? You know Lyme Park?
Yeah. That's Manchester way, I think.
Yeah, it was about an hour's drive. So I'll be honest, I haven't run in that area, but I went out.
Don't worry, because if you're up there next time, Andy sometimes just puts out on his Strava.
Oh,
if anyone wants to come for a run with me.
Yeah.
And if anyone fancies
I thought that was a nice thing to do.
If anyone fancies a 3:15 per kilometre pace, like Saturday morning jog, then come with me. Would you be up for it?
Look, once this boots off, I'd happily keep up. But you know what I would do is, because here's the thing, right? If you're running, if it's point to point, if you're starting and then running, but if you were on a track, or you were on, you know, you were running around a park, I think that's a great thing, because it's one of those things where if you're running around a park, that's a great, you know, when you're running with somebody that knows what they're doing, you know, that thing of like, the joy of like, you know, because there's a track near me as well, and never in a million years would I think to go and run on a track. But weirdly, it's that thing of like, if you're running around and you sort of think,
it's the shared experience. You know that the other person's putting themselves through something, even if it's a different pace.
Exactly. So what was the pace you were doing it at?
340 per kilometre.
340, right? Well, yeah. Sometimes like that's like a sprint. I can do that probably for about a minute, I reckon. But you know what I mean? Like if you're going around the track and you go, all right, I'll jump on for like a minute, and then normally if you're doing that on your own, you think, I've had enough here. But you think, can I get a
good speed
minute and a half? I think he's done the right thing there.
Okay, I was going to say I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to do it again because it was just embarrassing.
We loved it.
Yeah.
Have you got a tour name for the next tour? Because Jibber Jabber Jamboree was the last tour name. That was the last
one. The new one's called Cranium of Curiosity. It's the new one.
So where did that come from?
My cranium.
Yeah. How do you? I don't even know how you would start the creative process of. And is it the same every time, or do you just go off on tangents, which is kind of?
Yeah, I basically just there has to be a time. Sort of, I'll take a bit of time off, and that's another thing that running gives you. Actually, is that thing of, there's that I quite like. I'll go for a run. And it just lets, it's like brain stewing, that's what I call it. And you just have all these things knocking about in your head, and they just sort of like, they're all just there floating around. And then you go for a run, and that thing of like an idea will sort of, it'll come past as like the window in the front of your head. It comes past, you go, that's an interesting idea. And then it goes, and then another one comes past, and then those ideas start colliding together, and they're just stewing away. And then I go on stage, and if I have a break, and then basically what I do is I just go to like a club or whatever, I'll have all these ideas that have just sort of stewed away, and I go on and I just start talking, and then just see where it goes. And
test
then
the ones that people like.
Well, just
actually clears the head. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Do you ever? Because I find I have some of my best thoughts on a run. And all of a sudden something that I've been worried about at work or in life just comes into focus, but then I finish the run and I think, oh no, I've completely forgotten what it was. Yeah. So do you worry about that? Do you take voice notes or anything?
No, because it's one of those. I always think if an idea is good enough, it's in there. So I think it's one of those things where like if you, I don't think it's like that you consciously have to think an idea and then go, right, I'll write that down and then I'll act upon it. The very fact that you thought about this sounds like therapy, this, doesn't it? But this is creatively, but also I think just sort of emotionally, if you thought that thought, even if you're running and it goes for a second, your conscious brain has gone, okay, my subconscious brain is now dealing with all these things.
Isn't that so interesting?
I think that's
what the subconscious brain does, because I've learned something about my subconscious brain only in the last
oh God, I can't wait for this.
We're going down a dark hole now.
Is he debuting some new thoughts?
I'm going to debut this. I'm going to debut this thought. Yeah. My brain somehow, if I do something live like TV, radio, whatever, then fine, it just goes like and I won't think about it again. But if I pre-record something and I say something really silly or stupid, I will not imagine. I won't remember. I might not notice it at the time, but when I wake up, something in my subconscious brain will have done something overnight, and I will wake up, and about 6 o'clock in my brain, I'll go, I need to edit that line out.
Right.
You know?
So it's when you do something stupid but don't realise it.
But I don't realise it. And then I take it out. And then I'll write an email next morning, like somehow that's happened in the back of my head. And then I'll sort it. And I've only realised that my brain does it recently. I mean, it might be something to do with the lack of Gavi during the week.
True, that's probably
dry weeknights.
But you know what? There's a thing which is sort of that running definitely. There's definitely something going on there. Like it's. I think personally, it's more about the brain than it's more about the brain, but. Like, for example, like doing really long runs when it starts getting, when your head starts going, bringing up all these thoughts and am I actually feeling this pain or is it my body doing that and all the rest of it? And I think what running does, which is great, is that it forces you to, I think it just sort of forces you to acknowledge things, but at the same time work out what's worth concentrating on, like consciously, and what doesn't help you at all.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of like, There's a really, like, when you did that video where you were talking through the sub 20-minute thing.
20-minute 5K.
That's a really, like, I find that really fascinating, because it's one of those things where you were talking about the fact that you know, when you were saying, right, now it's starting to bite.
Yeah.
And now's the point. And you know, you're talking about that thing of like, this is your opportunity, rather than, oh God, I've got to get to the end.
Yeah, that's my main mantra, I guess. When it gets hard in a race or a training session, it's rather than it feeling hard and trying to talk yourself out of it, you talk yourself into it with like, this is my opportunity to do something I've never done before.
Exactly. And I think and I think this is what was brilliant about running, is the fact that, and it was really interesting seeing you sort of explain that, because when you're trying to run a fast park run, and all of these, you know, you're getting, there's that what do you call it, the chimp paradox. Have you read that book?
Steve Peters,
and it's that, you know, so he basically talks about how the chimp is the part of your brain that just wants the instant gratification, and it's that thing of like, you're getting all of these, and especially running hard, you're getting all these your brain just starts telling you stuff, and it's like it's a different person going,
singing stuff.
Oh, stop this! Or you could sit down. And what I love about it is the fact that that is your opportunity to go. Yeah. Am I in pain here? Am I actually feeling this, or am I?
Not real pain.
Yeah, it's not real pain, and then you go
sort of overcome those voices and internal demons.
Right.
Yeah.
Ross, we're going to come and see you.
God, that all got a bit serious at the end.
I loved it.
It was he's Mr. Joking in the end. You go, oh God, is he going to try and sell us some sort of wellness program? Jesus Christ. I do apologise for my dullness at the end.
No, it wasn't dull. I think you could sell us some kind of wellness / anti-gout lifestyle.
Yeah, that's what
an anti-gout tablet with your face on it would sell well.
Colchicine. Hi, I'm Ross Noble, and I endorse Colchicine. Yeah. Was it Pele that did erectile dysfunction?
I think he did,
Yeah, he's cornered that market. Yeah. Hi there.
Listen,
are you a fat middle-aged man who thinks that he can run faster than he can? Try Colchicine.
There's definitely something in
Get
this.
this and you get free packet of sausages.
We'll come to see a free packet of sausages.
That's the
Not chicken wings.
Yeah. Do you like chicken wings? Do you like sitting around in your house feeling sore?
Do you enjoy extending the end of a podcast, much to Rick's discomfort in the corner over
I said
here?
this at the very start.
Look how long we've gone on. Look how long we've gone on.
Well, it's me, innit? As if it was going to be tight. Can I just say, I think the podcast should be longer.
Ross.
I think the podcast should be longer. I think you should do it for an hour, because I think most people I think an hour is a good length in terms of like, if you're doing a short, say you want to go out and you want to do like short, like a half hour. It gives you a nice few minutes to like get warm up, you know, get your shoes on, all the rest of it, and then you have a nice what are we saying now? Cool down, warm down. And then or you get to where you want to run, bang, I'm going for an hour. And I would even say probably at points during the podcast, like half an hour in, you're halfway there.
I'm not sure we could deal with each other for that amount of time every week.
I personally, as a regular listener,
it's getting longer. It's extended gradually. Yeah. It's getting an extra 10 seconds every week.
Yeah, and Rick does his best to not ever let us sub him out for any podcasts ever. To the point where in the last few years he's moved his holidays around. He's moved his holiday around.
I've missed one.
But you know, if you're ever in town and we need a substitute, I think you can come in.
Come back in, mate.
Me, you and Sarah.
I'm more than happy to.
Right,
yeah,
it's been amazing. We're going to come and see you on tour.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
in the UK, massive, lots of dates. Everywhere.
UK, Australia, also the Adelaide Fringe, is that right?
Yeah, I'm going to be, it's, I think, check local press for details. It's on my website. Have a look on my website, but it'll be UK end of next year. Right. And if you look at the dates, see where the Friday shows are, and then you can probably work out.
And if you miss it, go on Reddit and find the thread.
And you'll find
so the next day, that'll be where you're at the parkrun.
Yeah, pretty much.
I love that. Mate, thank you so much for coming in.
What a joy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.